I'm George Gonzalez. I'm obsessed with making games, and today is Level Up Thursday. And what we're going to go over is part two of the NPC controller stuff. We're actually working on the NPC itself. And so the main aspect of this tutorial is to be able to grab information and carry it across to whatever your component is. In this specific case scenario, we're going to use the dialogue system we set up before, and we have the NPC. And the idea is that when we walk up to the NPC, first, I will be able to have a picture of them on the corner, their name, and the dialogue. Now, if you want to do a dialogue system, that's on you, or if you want to do a tutorial, I can go through that. But there's plenty of assets and also tutorials on how to do dialogue systems. But the main part is, okay, so one is be able to pull up information about the NPC that you are about to interact with. And so that way and then the second part is be able to scale that. So not just like hard code information, but actually we're going to do 2 NPCs, or we can do 3, we can do 100 with this scenario, and you'll be able to see how easy it is to set it up and then reuse the asset. That's the main goal, is so that you have a scalable model to use for your game, if that makes sense. This could even be done with RPGs like Baldur's Gate 3 type of thing, where you have a character with certain stats and you need all that information. So instead of passing it back and forth, you can have, what we're going to do is have a scriptable object that contains all the data. Okay, and scriptable objects can be used in multiple ways. In this scenario, we're going to use it as storage. Okay, usually that, scriptable objects are used for other reasons, but for this specific, I'll show you. It's kind of like a middleman that holds the data. Okay, so how do we set this up? Okay, so the first thing I did is went over what we want to accomplish, right? So we have this nice image of an NPC, the name, and the dialogue, right? So I set up the components, as you see here. We have a text mesh pro component for the name, and then the dialogue system, the text that you'll say. And then if you want a button, you can add a button, whatever UI mechanics you want, you can have. And then you can set up the interactions. I'll move over to this way so that you can see all of the assets. The image, just this image, we have this canvas, and this canvas will always have this dialogue manager. And this dialogue manager is going to need some information. And so what I have is I created, in here, we have a tutorial folder. And I need to move again. In here we have a tutorial folder, and we have a scripts and a scriptable object. So in scripts, Unity 6 has some new components that are pretty cool. Is that you can create in here a scripting. You can create a mono behavior. You can create a scriptable object script or an empty script. So the scriptable object script is nice because it sets it up for you. Temp. We'll just write temp. And what it does, it automatically creates these asset menus. You don't have to dig for it, and it already gives you the setup. Okay, so we're gonna delete that because I already grabbed my information, and you can name it whatever you want to name it. We could say NPC data, probably more, or I'm not the best with naming conventions. I just get things done, and so that's one of my weaknesses, something that I'm always trying to improve, but I'm quickly trying to come up with these tutorials for you guys. Okay, so we have the information, NPC information. It's a scriptable object, and we can create it in the menu, and I'll show you in a second where that is at. The scriptable object will just have these variables: dialogue, the name, and the image. These are all things you can decide what you want for the information. If you need more, like maybe you need a bunch of dialogues, that's like what you could do, and then you can have a list of dialogues. That's up to you and your dialogue system, or what you want to show. Or instead of an image, you might want a video or a sprite animation sheet of images moving so that the NPC looks like it's talking. You probably have information on that. You can hold it here. This is, again, our middleman, okay? We already saw the end result. We want to get to here where we see the guy. And then we have this information. Okay, so how do we use that? Well, I have another folder called scriptable objects. You make a folder by going right-click, create folder, and you can name it whatever you want. Scriptable object. And in here, we go create. And as you see, in the menu, it says scriptable objects. Oh, again, I have to move. Okay, so in here, hopefully this is the last time, or maybe I'll make myself small so you don't. And in here, you can go create scriptable objects, NPC information. Okay, and it'll create one. Okay, and that's what we have right now. We have 2 things: the receiving end and the sending. Okay, so a script is going to have to change this to update it to whatever the information is. And then we have another. So I'm going to write it down. Let me pull up Miro. One, we're going to controller that writes to scriptable object. SO is short for scriptable object. And then 2. Oh my gosh. And 2, we're going to dialogue reads from SO. So we have a write and a read. okay, because we need something to write. So let's do the writing. Okay, so we have, and then the other thing that we want to do is maybe as 1.5 or 1A or 1B is event trigger. So trigger to say, okay, what determines when we write to this, right? So like a precursor or after the fact. So that's what we're going to go over today. And then by the end, we'll be able to replicate this super fast. Okay, so first we have the NPC. Remember with the NPC, okay, so let's go back. When we go up to the NPC, let's follow the breadcrumbs, right? Because this is all event driven. So you want to, if you don't remember, I'm going to go over it. We have, whenever we detect the player, we have detection sphere. So this sphere detects the player, right? So we have this sphere. And in here it says on player detected, we are going to have this interaction canvas, right? That's going to say interact with the NPC. And then this is the one that goes to the dialogue and consumes that, but we've changed that. Okay, so what we're going to do is the interact will still open it up, but we'll say dialogue manager, start dialogue. Okay, so it's going to start the dialogue. But this detection sphere also has to do something else. So we're going to do, in here we have let's call this NPC. We have the NPC controller that I haven't done anything. I just went in here and created the controller by saying NPC mono behavior script. That's right here in scripting, mono behavior script. And we called it NPC controller. Okay, so this controls the NPC. This is what we're going to use time and time again to set up each NPC. This is what's going to determine what the NPC holds, and I'll show you. I'll show you at the end of the video. We'll see how everything works, and you'll see. But hopefully this makes sense of why we're doing each thing. This is the one that's going to write. So we're going to write. We're going to do. Oh my gosh! Just let me delete stuff. Serialize field, and serialize. Seed already knows. I think. Yeah, the NPC information, NPC info. Okay, so we have the information, but the other thing we need is we might not. Serialize means that just if it's private, you don't have to. I don't know. I tries to. It means that you don't set it after it's done. So one way. So if I wanted to be a public variable, I could run them. The reason you get used to doing serialize is some level of protection from the variables. If you set it to public, then anyone that hacks your game can access those variables and change them easily. Now, if you have them serialized, it's a lot easier. So public functions and public variables. That's the first line of defense that you want to use for hacking, you could say. Okay, exposing variables. And that's why I have this kind of scriptable objects, because it makes it easier to store data and whatnot. Okay, so let's go. So what do we need? We need a name, string, NPC name. That already knows. Serialized field, string, initial dialogue, and then we need the image. See if it remembers. Sprite. Let's see if it's gonna remember. Yep. Okay. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we have an event public void. When the player interacts is load dialogue or load NPC information. Let's just say not dialogue information. Come on. And then it does it for me. So sometimes if you have what is it? Oh, come on. If this is writer. So it kind of understands what stuff I have, and so it writes it for me. But for the most part, this is what I wanted, right? It's super repetitive, so it's nice because you don't have to repeat and type over and over. Okay, so when we enter the field, it's going to trigger that. Okay, and I'll show you how we're going to do all this. Okay, so we're going to load the information, and it's done. So that's the writing part. Now we're going to read it. Okay, so let's do that. So dialogue manager. We're going to NPC start dialogue. So in here, we're going to change this. We're going to still set it to true, but now we have, we're going to call this dialogue text, and we're going to copy this for the name because we need the name now. NPC name, and then the other one is the image. But I think in this one, we need the reference to the image. NPC image, multiple choices. So it probably is getting confused between which image UI, but it doesn't know what to using Unity engine.ui. Okay, that should work. Okay. See, sometimes AI is kind of dumb, or even the code. Okay, so we have, so now we are gonna draw from this. So we're gonna say, okay, the NPC name. Come on, let me do the NPC name. Okay, there you go. And it went through. And this did not do it right. Because I thought I had I changed it. Because I thought I had an array. But that's how you would do it if you had an array. You just do the 0, and then you could say like current dialogue index, and then go up an index, and then you just go through, scroll through the responses. NPC sprite, image.sprite, and you fill it with info.image, which is a sprite, which is kind of weird. Let me change maybe no, I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so we have the text, the image is pretty redundant, but at this point, hopefully this is the right, so this is reading the information, okay? Now we're gonna do the trigger event. So we have, this is done, this is done. Now we're gonna do the event trigger, and we're gonna set everything up. Okay, so we have this guy, we need a name. We said it was like Bob. We can do like this if we want to. Initial dialogue, hi, what's up? What's up? And then we're gonna do the image. Again, we're gonna go in here, select that image, and then I'll show you, be patient. I'm gonna show you how this is like gonna scale. At the beginning, you might think, oh, this is like very tedious and I know how to do it super fast. I'm telling you, this is better. You just gotta wait and understand. Okay, so I'm setting it up. Okay, so this is the writer, now the reader. And so we're gonna look for the NPC information. These things are actually references in here, right? So we have this canvas. Again, now we're referencing the component. Dialogue text, and you might have to go back and forth and do it slowly. It's okay until you get the hang of stuff, because it might not make as much sense right now. Which one is the reader, which is the writer, and what you do depending. So I'm just assigning references. So this is the reference to this. It's going to replace this. Don't worry, we're going to do it. Don't worry. Just like, I know you're like, I want to show you everything, and I could have like done it all ahead of time and then shown you and then try to go back. But I like you to see me doing it. Like this is work. This is how you do it. Like when you're getting paid to do this work. I mean, obviously, I don't have to worry about recording when I'm working. I just do it. But I'm trying to explain things as I go. Make sure I don't mess up in public. Let me see. So we have that, and everything should work. Okay, we're gonna create the prefabs. I made this folder so we can create the prefab. So we have this NPC. Okay. Now let's say this NPC is Bob. Let me make sure. So this one's Bob, and it's a variation on that one. Okay, so then we have, you can either duplicate it. Let's duplicate Bob and put him over here. And this guy is, I don't know, what is it? Nick, okay, whatever. And then we're gonna change this to Nick. How are you doing? And then we're gonna do something else that's not a priest. Nick looks like this guy. Let's just say that, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, and then let's say we drag and drop this as another option. Okay, and then this guy, let's say, let's see what images we have, and we can come up with a name. Let's just say Victoria, the marble bust. Victoria. Hi. What do you want? Super angry because of marble. Okay, so we have all three. Okay, and we can even rename this one. So I showed you both ways. You can duplicate it, Victoria, or do however you want to. So these are the writers, remember. Oh, and the other thing that we gotta do is I'm gonna go in the prefab. You can also go to the prefab by clicking on this one, and it'll change all of them. Okay, because there's something that we forgot to do, which is player detected. We're gonna do, and you can see these are empty. It's because they get filled out in the scene because the reference is outside. So this is a tip on these. If I put this here and I fill it up with whatever I want, it's gonna overwrite the other one. So it's not good. So I leave the first one open because the first one is the one that I know it's already filled out. So this second one's not gonna get touched, and you'll see in a second. So let's, what are we gonna do? Oh, we are gonna fill, so when the player goes in, it overwrites the control. So it'll say load NPC information. Okay, that's all we need, because every time, even if I leave, it'll still be loaded, but it doesn't matter because the moment I go into another NPC, it will be overwritten by that one, and you'll see it's like magic. That's pretty cool. Okay, so we have that, and now you'll see that all of these have the same thing for the detection. So you'll see in the detection, right here, see how, and these game objects are empty because they need to be filled. So that's the good thing about Bob and Nick, that because they were already set up in the scene, they already filled out and they're kind of off. See this one? Okay, so let's fix that. Okay, so we got an interaction button. And you can remove this step. It's not a big deal. Like, we don't need the interact button. That was just in case you want to. You can adjust things however you want. You should have enough information to know what you need to do. So we're going to turn it on. And here we need the interaction button. Where is it? Okay, this one. No, not this one. Dang it. Interaction button. And then we're going to game objects, set active. Okay, and then in here, do you have everything? Okay, game objects set active. Okay, so you have all of them. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how this is going to work. The interaction is going to be off. And the dialog pair, this one, I think is going to be off. And then when we click on button, it'll start the dialog. Okay, so let's see, is there any other problems? Oh, the other thing we wanted to do that I promised we would do that I forgot about is pausing. And we can do that in a second. Let me check. So but first I want to show you the power of this. We did 3. So yes, it took a little bit of setup, but now we can make 100 of these. Okay, so we'll have this one. This is, I think, Bob. We interact with Bob. Hey, what's up? And then if we go here to this guy, we interact and it's Nick. How are you doing? And then if we go to, if I can freak, I don't like this controller, but okay. And now if we go here and interact, Victoria, hi, what do you want? Okay, is that not cool? Like, I think it's pretty cool that you can set up 100 of these now. Yes, you need the animation and stuff, but you have a prefab with the information, right? That's the power of these scriptable objects, and you can debug them. Like, okay, watch. Before I even touch, you can go in here, scriptable objects. This is already filled out with information, and as I go around, you'll see that it'll change. Watch. When I go here, you'll see it change. See at the top right, it'll change. Oh, come on, move. Get there. See how it changed up there with this marble statue? And there, it changed again. Okay, so it is changing it behind the scenes. So this is a nice use case of scriptable objects where it's just like, the reference is nice because I don't have to do game object find. I have to look for a specific name, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, that's the reference. And that every time the dialogue opens up, it's going to look at that. And it's going to say, okay, like, is this thing actually, what does it say? And it just displays that. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so let's talk about pausing the game, because the other thing you can do is pop up the menu and move around even after. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in here. Let's say when the controller, right, this is when it loads the information. Let's think about when we interact. So when this thing pops up, right, when the player chooses to click the button is when we pause, right? So this could be when you hit pause in the pause menu. Okay, in this scenario, we are going to start NPC dialog. This is when you press the button, it triggers this. So we could create a different script, but for now we would do is time.scale equals 0 to display the dialog. Okay, and then we can also say public void and dialog. You can say, yeah, time delta cell 1, set false. See, so it already knows. So we go back, and in here, you'll notice that we have a close menu button. Instead of doing it through this, so this button sees I close at the canvas, we're going to drag and drop and dialog manager and say close or end dialog. Okay, so we start and end the dialog with a button click, and it's all handled by this guy. The other thing you have to be aware of, if we set up something that turns something off, so let's say we turn this guy off, this function will not work if this thing is deactivated. So be aware of that when you're switching stuff on. That's why I have a lot of parenting. It's nice because 1, it's organized, and 2, it gives you control as to what's on and what's off. Okay, so let's try it. Let's do it. Okay, so you remember and you'll see it in this side. Okay, let me move this down. You'll see it in here that my guy can still move usually, but in this scenario, it's not going to be able to. So watch, I'll show you. When I hit the button, okay, so while the view is there, so see, the button comes up, I can still move, yeah, and I disable the sound, but you could hear the footsteps. Okay, so let me see how you can see that I'm moving. Okay, the moment I hit this button, it's going to stop. And what, like, see, like I'm pressing the buttons. Can you hear it? I'm pressing the buttons and it's not moving. See, like the camera moves, but time scale is kind of like a cheat. It pauses everything, and then when I close, I can move back. Okay, so this is good for pause menus, or if you want to like pause the game while you have a UI on top. Now, if you don't want to pause, you don't pause it, because maybe you want to have this like as an overlay. Another thing that you might want to do, let's say you don't want this like full on blocking your view, you can just remove the background, right? Or well, let me see, background, NPC name, the background here, the image, I can remove it, or I can do this. Let me see if I haven't thought of this yet, but let's see if so it's a little bit, because there's some dependencies, but I can go back and you can move it like this, right? So that's why, like, if you want to do something like this, then you maybe want to change it. But like we could do this, and we can, just make the image a little bit smaller and change it where it's located. And the cool thing, again, like all the text is the same. I don't have to change, like, it's just the positioning, right? And so this is all still working. And so then you can have something like this, and then I can move the close button to somewhere like right here if you wanted to. You are in charge of however you want to show this. It's up to you, right? Like I'm just showing you how to give you control over that. The other thing you have to be aware if you do something like this is that when you are trying to register clicks, if you have a canvas, sometimes the canvas will show up. See, like you might click here and it's not gonna click because there's something in here interacting with it. Right now there isn't, because I can see like in here, see there's a in here, but there's nothing colliding other than, see these background image, everything's underneath here. Okay, so it's not gonna, and then also if you wanted the background to not touch, see how this says raycast target? I can just remove this and it won't raycast through. The same for the image. Anytime you want the raycast to go through the click, make sure that these things are off on the raycast. Okay, and that will help you from that, so you can click through stuff if you wanted to. And then it still works the same, right? And there's still the interact button if you wanted to bring it up, whatever, right? But the interact happens with, and you'll see that all the images the same, see? So hopefully this gives you an idea, and when I click here, you'll notice that I can't move. So again, if you wanted to have it so that you can move, we go back to that dialog parent and remove the delta time. This is like slow. If you wanted to slow down time, you could even do 0.5 and it'll slow down. This slows down everything that is based on time on the loop, like on update and stuff. There are ways to get around this. So let's say you wanted to pause the menu, but you wanted some information to still go through. There are functions that you can do, and ways to protect certain scripts or certain functions to still run as if even when time scale is 0. Okay, so there are ways to get around it, but then it gets really hard to pause everything. But that's something like more advanced. But let me show you that is working. I think it's saved. I hopefully did. Did it save? Hopefully. Let's see if it did save. And you'll see that I'm here. Oh no, it didn't save. Anyway, so yeah, if you wanted to take this off, you don't need to. You can just leave it like that, and you'll be fine. And then we'll be able to. Now it's saving. And I'm glad the character controller doesn't have any bypass, so that I could do this pause without any problems. And see how now it still works. And if I go here, it'll go to this other guy. See, so it won't load because the other thing is it won't load because the function doesn't load until I hit the button. So let's say one bonus. If you're this far, if you still need help, like individual help, I have endgame devs where I help you learn this stuff, how to become a game developer on your own, right? Like to learn this, you can learn this stuff on your own. You don't need me. But the reason I do this is because I love making games and trying to show how simple it is to learn, because that's the main thing, is to learn. Let's say we wanted to always have this update. You could say that you could always update it, or in here, you could set up like the dialogue. Let me see. So we can do an event. This is a lot more. I don't know if I want to do this because there's more, but let's say this information, let's see if this will work. Public void on, no, let's do event, right? So we do Unity event on information changed. Okay. Let's do public. So on information changed, Unity event, come on, really? Using Unity engine events, yeah, there you go. Okay, on information changed. Okay, we're not going to do anything. So we're going to do, again, we have a read and a write. Okay, so we have this is the reader. It's going to read. So we're going to instance this. Yeah, display. Okay, so we're going to do NPC info. Oh, come on. NPC info dot on information change. Dot add listener. Oh, come on. Where is it going? Come on. Oh my gosh, I hate it. Like this thing is trying to like yeah, sure, but like I don't like, yeah, okay, yeah, do that. Display canvas true. Okay, so this changes the information regardless. Okay, so we don't need this anymore, but still like this turns on the canvas, right? So we still need a turn on canvas and a turn off canvas, and if we needed to pause, we could pause it. Dialogue. So yeah, so and then one other thing that you want to always do, void destroy on destroy information remove listener. So that way, just know you have to do that. The last thing is the writer, and this will be the last lesson. I'm just trying to cover everything that you might go through based on these changes, right? As you go, you might have questions. Trying to cover as much as I can as it comes up on the fly, because this is stuff that when you're developing, like, oh wait, I need this to update constantly. How do I fix that? Okay, so load information. PC controller, yeah, so this loads information, and when it's done, we tell on information change in bug. Okay, so you say, hey, this information changed. Go update whoever needs to. Yes, we could have the scriptable object do that, but this is straightforward. Okay. Okay, so we have all that done. We don't need to do anything. So now I'm going to show you, because the only reason we need to do this is because first, I don't pause the game. Second, I change the UI. And so you have to take into account, like when you change things, like for example, this pop-up, now I can see my character and this at the same time. You have to account for edge cases. So the player's going to come, see how it changes, but then this interact. See, like there's always edge cases that come up. And yes, I can click this, but now it's like crappy. So how would I fix that? Like maybe I don't have the interact button. I can also check the other thing that how I would do it, I'm not going to show you in this tutorial because like I think it's getting too long and I don't want to bore you to death. But what I would do to do that is, again, we have a reader and a writer. I would just say, okay, this would have a reference to the game object. So serialized field game object, display, no, interaction button canvas or something like that. And then you would turn if, and then you also have the same thing for the other canvas. What? Come on. What the? What is it called? Dialog canvas. Maybe you could ask the manager. It doesn't matter. So we have the two game objects, and I would say if dialog canvas is active. No, don't. It thinks it knows what I want, but it doesn't. If it's active, no. If it's not active, I want to do interaction.canvas set active to true dummy. So this is the only time we would want to set it to true. So instead of having it hard coded with the on trigger event, the on trigger event will load this will load the information, and when it's done, it will update. If the canvas is not active, then the button can pop up, and then that's all I think you would need. Yeah, and I said I wasn't going to do it, but it's kind of fast, so let's go for it. What the heck? Let's see if it works. Let's see. So we're going to go back in here, so make sure it works for everything. We're not going to do this anymore. Player detected. On player left, we can say in here, void player left or something like that. And so then we would always set the button to false. See? So at least this in you. And so now we're going to load. We don't need these anymore, right? So this makes it easier to control. And we're going to do this. And now it's all. And that solved our previous problem that I was talking to you about. Like, and then we would need to make sure that we have these two objects in there. So I would select these. And this is something that you maybe do differently. Right now I'm on the thinking on the fly, and I'm trying to think of how to get things done. So this is the dialogue. This is the game. Okay, so we have this. We're going to play. And again, we are slowly, in a sense, refactoring things as they come. First, we're solving problems. Then I would go and it's like, how can we make this better, right? Because we can. Oh, it's not working. Why is it not working? I should have loaded. Oh, okay. The other thing, did we interaction button, canvas, and then because these guys probably changed. Okay, so these are not, are they? Yeah, see, so they're missing their stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab these, and whenever, because what happens is another lesson. So for those that stay long enough, another lesson is when you have prefabs and you change them in the scene, those specific variables will always be overwritten by the scene. So the scene takes precedence over the prefab. So if you want to override that, you can revert everything. Oh crap! No, I don't want to revert everything. Oh, it's kind of hard. So what we're gonna do? So see, the revert everything will. So the text is all the same, and I don't want to do that. But I do want, if you go in here, player detection. See how this is specific? Revert, and it will revert that. And then I gotta do one at a time. So in here, revert that specific thing that we want to revert, which is this player detection thing that we just changed. And now when we go in there, you'll see that it's actually up to date. So now it will work. So that was a good lesson that, with prefabs. It can get tricky. That's why you want to make sure you always try to update the base, and whenever and only update the scene if you have to. So see, we have Bob, and now we're gonna go back to the other one, and there it works. See, now we don't have the button. See, so it's nice. So little by little, we are changing things, right? And then we got to make sure that it's still working even when. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me see. Oh, yeah. The interact button still comes up and it still works as intended. Okay. And then we have Victoria over here. There you go. See, we are good. We are done. We have, like, I did what I told you. We were going to do the NPC, the image, and scalable. And we have also pause. And on top of that, we got some nice stuff with the prefabs and some kind of how to change things, how to go about debugging and improving, making things more modular. And there's still more to improve, right? Like having this reference to the button canvas is not good. What we would do to improve that, we would like either send an event saying, hey, this needs to be updated. And then depending on what happens, like maybe the dialogue manager can do that because that's their responsibility is the dialogue. And so maybe the dialogue manager detects some changes and it says, okay, well, do I need, it's a manager. It needs to know, okay, like which one's active, which one should I activate and so forth. So instead of this guy being in charge of the UI, the dialogue manager should be. But we got this done, right? And that's the next step to making it better. And I could do that. But again, that's what I'm trying to tell you is that you start by working simple, figuring it out, and that's what you saw it. I just showed you live as we are changing things, or maybe your CEO, your boss says we need to do this differently, or you need to add something different. You saw how I adapted, right? I tested it, I hit play, does it work the way I want it? And if not, then okay, where do we fix it? And that comes with experience as you come. So hopefully you like this video. I try to give you as much flexibility and tools to use. We'll see you next week with more tutorials on how to get things done. See ya.